Welcome to episode number 2 of the Not So Secret Men's Business, where I share with you the tools, tips, and personal insights into how men between the ages of 40 and 50 can simply be their very best, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. So in this episode, we take a deeper dive into Aristotle's famous quote, "Give me the child until he's 7 and I'll show you the man." In episode number 1, we finished off with talking about the importance of stopping, with the importance of reflecting on where you're at right now. And why we do this helps us build clarity and direction moving forward in our life. Okay, it's very hard to know where you want to go without really knowing where you're at right now. So to take this a little step further, it's all about building self-awareness. And specifically speaking, there is a very well-known technique that's used in the facilitation space, that's used in the coaching space, known as the SWOT analysis. I did allude to it in episode number 1, and we're going to be stepping through the SWOT analysis and how you can use the SWOT, okay, to assist you in, as I said, creating that direction that you want in your life. So what does SWOT stand for? It's pretty simple. S stands for strengths, W stands for weakness, O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. Shortly, we're going to take a step-by-step approach in identifying what our strengths, what our weaknesses, what our opportunities, and what our threats are. So before completing the SWOT analysis, let's actually talk about the benefits of doing so. So yes, you're going to identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, but what you're really identifying with is what you're great at, what you're not so good at, opportunities for future growth, and both internal and external challenges that you really should be aware of. When you have all this information sort of available to you, for me, you can't really see it here, but I have all this information, live up on my wall. It's this element of self-awareness that allows me to start to create the little pieces, or starting to bring those little pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together to help me build clarity around the direction that I want to live in my life, both personally and professionally. So let's take a deeper dive into the SWOT, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the opportunities and threats. And because we're doing this together, I feel that I need someone to do it with too. So I've got my eldest daughter here, Lilia. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi. So what we're going to do, Lilia, we're just going to step through the strengths, the weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, and you're going to give the audience maybe 1 or 2 important things to consider when we think about what the SWOT is all about. So let's start with the strengths, okay? So we've got some notes here, but when we think about the strengths, what is one thing that they need to consider when they're writing some notes down when we think about their strengths?
Good at.
Yeah, so good at. So it's one of those things. So what are those things that you're good at, okay? Now, you could be doing a SWOT analysis to do with your personal or your professional life, but one thing is that it really does reflect back on what it is that you're good at. What else?
Unique too.
And what is unique to you? That's right. So really, really important to think about, all those unique things that you bring to either your business or your organization or to your family or to your community. So it's really important to stop, and we're going to put a bit of a pause here. We might just chit chat. Okay, I'm going to get you to maybe just start to reflect, especially if you're in the car and you're listening to this on YouTube, you've got your headphones in or through your speakers in the car, is just to think about, what are my strengths? What am I unique at? And what am I good at? So just take some time to think about that. Good. All right, then secondly, weakness. So think about it. W stands for weakness. What are some things that they need to consider when we're thinking about weaknesses? So judging by her look in her face, she hasn't looked down at her notes. So it's, what is it that probably she doesn't know it because we don't like to use this word in our family, bad at. We never really use the word, but I put it down there. So it's really, in regards to your weaknesses, what is it you're bad at? You think that's funny? So what is it you're bad at? So, obviously weakness. So what are some of those things that I suppose, really maybe potentially even worry you a little bit? Things that you're concerned by, maybe some evidence in your life that suggests you're not as good as what you possibly can be. Remember, you're going to be doing this in either your personal or in your professional life. So think about, what are your weaknesses? What are your limitations? What are you bad at? We don't like to use the word bad, do we? No. Okay, so think about that. Okay, before we move on to opportunities. Okay. Good. So now we want to think about your opportunities. So O in the SWOT analysis is all about opportunities. So Lily, have you got any important points that you've written down there around things for the audience to consider? When we think about opportunities, what have you written down there? You got growth areas?
Yeah.
Growth areas. So Lily has actually written this down. So it's about growth areas. So I know the kids at Lily's school, they talk about a growth mindset and growing and evolving, to move towards building, I suppose, that very best version of yourself. So think about opportunities. I want you to think about opportunities for growth. Think about areas in which you can stretch and learn and lean into. That could be technically, that could be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. But what are those growth areas? What are those opportunities for you to, I suppose, work towards that continued learning? Okay, so have a think about that, those growth areas and areas for continued learning, continued growth. Good. And finally, your threats. Can you read any of that down there? What does this say just here? Can you read my writing? It's all about, so your threats is all about obstacles. Not like our Spartan obstacle course racing, even though that's quite hard, okay? So we want to think about your obstacles. So obstacles both internally and externally. So internally, I'm sort of meaning, when you stop and reflect, you're starting to think about, what are those things that are preventing you internally? Maybe some emotions, maybe some limiting beliefs. But when you think about externally, especially when you look in the context of business, those external threats might be that there are some other businesses that are pushing on your door. Maybe the advances in technology may eventually make your current business model obsolete. So start to think about, what are some of those potential threats that you need to be almost on guard with, okay, and progressively start to work towards some solutions, which is part of the next part of this video. So as a close, you've taken time to stop, you've taken the time to reflect, you've run through your SWOT analysis. Now what? What on earth do you do with it? Well, here you go, absolutely nothing. So you stop, right? And literally what I want you to do is sit. I would recommend, however, I wouldn't say absolutely nothing. What I would recommend is that you go and place your own personal SWOT, whether it's a business SWOT or as I said, a personal SWOT, up on your wall in those 4 quadrants. I like to have 4 quadrants: your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Get them up on the wall. Stop, reflect, and consistently ask yourself, and if you're just pondering, what is there to learn? What's coming up for me? How can I learn from this? What are some strategies potentially moving forward that I can use to assist me in building that direction in my life and living a life on purpose? I can't stress the importance enough of having a compelling vision. A vision that's bought in by you, a vision that ties into your values, a vision that ties into your beliefs, a vision that simply ties into living your life by design. In episode 3 in the Not So Secret Men's Business, I'm going to show you how you can take your SWOT and use the information contained in your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats to assist you in creating a compelling vision for the future. So if you found this episode 2 brought to you by both Lilia and myself, okay, please make sure you give a thumbs up and comment, and make sure you share. We aim to get this content out to you every fortnight to every month. Okay, your feedback is absolutely wanted. So if you feel you want to comment and get in contact with me personally, please make sure you email me at dean@melbournecorporatehealth.com.au or jump on our website at www.melbournecorporatehealth.com.au, and please be sure to check out my latest blog. Okay, if only my teacher had told me this 21 years ago. Until then, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.